Let's talk to Dame Andrea Jenkins. I'm sure she'll remember back to those dark days. She's now with Reform, UK mayoral candidate, of course. Andrea, very good morning to you.
Morning, Mike.
Thank you very much indeed. I mean, there are some people who keep saying to me, this is not a big story, this is not a big deal, Keir Starmer is nowhere near as bad as the Tories were. But I disagree. This is a guy who spends his entire time telling us all how he's a stickler for the rules. He doesn't break rules. Everything's within the rules that he does. He got away with the thing in Durham, the beer and curry night, by saying it was a work thing. There is absolutely no way in the world that I can see why a voice coach can travel all the way from Brighton on an empty train all the way up to Labour Party headquarters for a lesson in voice coaching on Christmas Eve. I mean, the irony of him being, treated by somebody or taught by somebody who's a voice coach is ridiculous anyway, because he can't speak for toffy. But, what do you make of it?
Look, I think, like you and like the British public, we like fairness and we don't like rank hypocrisy, Mike.
Yes.
And I remember that time very well. My elderly mum, we didn't see her. Clifford didn't see his dad for those 3 months periods, and he was only, about 5 years old at that time. And a vocal coach does not need to be there. Look, I used to be a vocal coach and a singing teacher, Mike.
Yeah.
They could do exercises via Zoom. She can share information via Zoom. She can record him and play it back to him. And it's just a hypocrisy that gets me every time with the Labour Party. He really is two-tier Keir at every opportunity, isn't he?
Well, he's now four-tier Keir, isn't he? Because this was tier 4, to be honest.
Yeah, yes. That's so right. And it's wrong. And I mean, it's no wonder Labour's started being behind in the polls, because you cannot do as I say, not as I do, can you?
Well, exactly right. And because he is so much of a stickler as he claims, and because he actually said, it's really sanctimonious. We've got him on record as saying, if I was found to have been in breach of COVID rules and I was given a penalty notice, I would resign. So presumably he should stick to that. And yesterday, when he was asked by Jack Elson from The Sun, did you break any COVID rules? He was very tetchy, as he always is, and suddenly started shouting down and absolutely not, no, don't be stupid. It was almost as though he was insulted by the question itself. That's not good enough, I'm afraid.
I think the public are waking up to the fact that Labour are liars. I think it's as simple as that, actually.
Well, exactly. I mean, the other big story we've got in the paper this morning, council tax going up in some parts of the country by 10%, other parts of the country by 5% at least. We've got another clip of him from last year saying council taxes will be frozen under Labour. You will not pay a penny more, which is clearly rubbish.
Absolutely. And just as the waspy women as well, pensioners, they all know that when he opens his mouth, it's lies that's coming out.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk about Reform's figures, because amazing news on the latest poll. I should say congratulations are in order. Reform UK, 25% of the vote. Joint highest score today, up from 23%. Labour on 24%, down 3. Lib Dems unchanged on 14. Tories on 21%, down 1. I mean, there's only one game in town at the moment, isn't there?
Yes, and I think what it is, look, the Conservatives, which I was part of, wasn't I? And I resigned, as you know, in November, joined Reform.
Yeah.
They have let the public down, and that's why Kem is trailing behind in the polls, and we're ahead. And so is the Labour Party. And I think that the general public are just sick of the two main parties because they don't believe them. And I just think that both the main parties just do not listen to the public, and they do not learn the lessons. And it's only Reform that really are speaking out for the British public and are determined to have, as your previous guest said about needing common sense. Well, I think only Reform's got common sense at the moment.
Well, also Reform came up top in a conversation about law and order, because the Policy Exchange report that's come out today, which says that more and more people actually would like to see the police doing more about cracking down on crime. In that particular survey, Reform also comes out on top in terms of, who people think would deal with law and order best.
Yes, I mean, with this mayoral role, actually, Mike, in a couple of years' time, if I'm elected, I should hopefully get the Police and Crime Commissioner powers within the mayoralship. And I want to see, just not running after people for these so-called hate crimes, but actually catching real criminals. And I mean, burglaries don't get attended, do they, by the police?
No.
And it's just as bad under the Conservative government, wasn't it? And but also, I mean, look, I'm sick of all this diversity and inclusion stuff. I mean, I saw a letter yesterday with West Yorkshire Police on what they spend on that and what all local authorities do. And I think we need to root out that. We need to do like what Rudy Giuliani did when he was mayor in the US.
Yeah.
And where even the smallest crime does not go unpunished. Otherwise, people progress to more serious crimes. And I think that only reform have actually got the guts and gumption to do that, because that's certainly what I would do if I'm in power as the mayor and get these powers.
I mean, a piece in the Mail today, which is written under a pseudonym, so I'm not sure who it actually is. He said, I've had 2 iPhones, an iPad and a Rolex stolen in 4 London muggings in just 1 year. The police's response was, you're lucky you haven't been stabbed. You know,
And I
great.
just, how the heck does the mayor of London keep getting elected as well, Mike? That's beyond me.
That is beyond, I think, most people's ken. We can't quite figure it out. One serious question, though, for reform. I get asked this a lot by people when we talk about reform and the future. There's a big gap between, you know, being as popular as the party is now and transforming into a load of seats. Finding the right candidates and getting the mechanism of the structure, I suppose, of the party right. Are you happy with the way that's all going, and are you happy with the way that the structure and the selection of candidates is going?
Yes, I mean, it's actually amazing, and the more strident than the Conservative Party. Every candidate gets vetted, myself included was vetted. They look at all the social media profiles, and so they literally have got directors at every level in every region, where it's professionalized now since Thea's being party chairman. And no, it's a professional outfit, and I'm very proud at what they're doing. And the only way is up, Mike. I really feel that. I feel it on the ground, and I feel it with the energy in the party as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it all goes. We wish you luck. Great to see you, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Thank you very much indeed. Reform UK's mayoral candidate, of course.